Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is well rested and ready for a big day. Just a quick wrap up for some of you who were not here maybe on Monday and Tuesday. So Monday was our Startups and Communities Day. AMLD was founded and focused a lot on research, but slowly getting into the startups world and the investment landscape, because to bring growth into the ecosystem, you do need research, but you also need the right leadership to apply this research to concrete projects. So Monday saw a few startup pitches, followed by data science community presentations. Tuesday was the sustainability and healthcare track, with keynotes from Time AI 100 Priya Donti in the morning, and keynote from Tom Lowry, ex-executive at Microsoft, in the afternoon. Today is also a packed day. We have many interesting speakers. One of them just wrote a book. He has, can you see the Acalytica slide before? So Edzai is also very generous to give away some credits of Acalytica. He might say a few words about it later, but feel free to scan this QR code. A reminder that we also have the Oppo giveaway. So for those of you who don't know the rules, we are giving away 2 Oppo phones. What you have to do is post on LinkedIn using this QR code, Oppo AMLD challenge. The 2 posts with most impressions will get the phone. And you can post up to 3 posts. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first speaker of the day. He is from Ghana, but he is based in Switzerland. He also studied in the US. Please, a round of applause for Jojo Boateng for the talk leveraging smartphones and AI to provide coding skills in Africa.
Thank you again, Monday, so much presentation on AI digital assistance. We are presenting something different. I'll be presenting about our platform to leverage mobile devices and AI to provide services to Africans. And with this work, we are addressing 2 important UN SDG goals for quality education and then AIDS, decent work and economic growth. So just a bit of context. So Kwame AI, my startup, we have a number of products and initiatives. So Esquire is what I presented on Monday, but we have a bunch of social impact products. So seo-tools is what I'll talk about today. And we have addition, which is an AI teaching assistant for science learning, which is a bot on WhatsApp. And then Relax AI, which is an interesting project we are working on to build an AI contestant for Ghana's National Science and Math quiz to win against human contestants. But today's focus will be on seo-tools, so let's talk about that. All right, so the problem we are trying to address is that across Africa, only less than 1% of school children leave school with basic coding skills. And one major reason is that there's limited access to computers. In fact, there's only 11% of students in sub-Saharan Africa have access to household computers. But what do people usually have access to smartphones? So there's a proliferation of smartphones across Africa, millions of smartphones, and there's an opportunity to leverage smartphones to provide coding skills to Africans. This issue of limited access to computers was made prominent in a summer program that we used to run in my nonprofit. So in 2017, for our 27 incoming students, only 25% had laptops, but 100% had smartphones. So what we did was we realized an opportunity to innovate. So we basically modified our programming course to all work on a smartphone. So basically, students began learning to code on the phone. So you have students write code on the phone and then build this phone game that you see. You'd have students they'll be in traffic working on their assignments, writing code, and it was this cool, amazing experience that we had. Because for the first time, we need to have a computer to be able to learn to code. So with that experience, you're like, wait, this issue of limited access to computers isn't just an issue in Ghana, it's also an issue across Africa. So what if we took it out of the summer program, put it online so that we could reach minimums across Africa and then give them this important skill right on their phones wherever they are. And so that's how seo-code was born. Seo-code consists of two words, seo, which means to learn in tree in Ghana, and then code. So seo-code means learn to code. And so the smartphone-based coding course. And the language that we teach is called processing. How many people know processing? Okay, I'm always surprised when I ask people. So processing, it's basically, it's based on Java, but it's usually used by people that work on visual art. So it makes it very easy to build visual and interactive programs. So if you wanted to create a circle, you just needed these 2 lines of code, right? It's so simple. So it makes it really easy to learn to code, which is why we decided to use that as a programming language to teach coding skills. Because remember the concept, these are people that have never coded before, so you need to make it very easy and enjoyable for them. Also, processing can be used to build complex programs. So there's an open source software for neuroscience work, which was built in processing. So you can actually build complex and advanced things with processing. And that's why we decided to teach processing. So I tell people that when you're learning to code, it doesn't really matter the language. You just need to start with a language that makes it easy to understand, and then the concepts you learn can be transferred to a different language. So how is seo-code structured? So I structured it in a way that, so you have lesson notes that students can read that goes through the fundamental concepts of programming, and you have an assignment. So every lesson notes has a corresponding assignment so that students can practice the concepts that they're learning. So in the seo-code course, we start off with basic concepts in processing, and students for the assignment have to read the interface of the phone game that you saw, and they learn variables, they move the ball, and then they make the ball bounce, and finally they put it all together to move the patterns. So in 2018, how we did it was we used an online platform, Google Classroom to be specific. So we had the lesson notes in there that students could access and read. Why lesson notes? So we decided not to use videos because data is really expensive across Africa. So if you're going to spend time learning to code, you can just use the lesson notes, download it offline so that you don't need to. It doesn't consume your data. So that's kind of the intention to address this issue. And students can also write code on this app called AMLD. Their phones also offline, so you don't need to be online to practice. And we also have quizzes that test the understanding of the concepts, assignments that they had to actually write code and then run. And then an important part of the seo-code experience was the forum. So we have a forum where students can post questions and get answers from their peers or our team of facilitators. And that's a really important aspect of the seo-code experience, because when people are learning to code for the very first time, they do need a lot of support, and you need to provide that support, otherwise people are going to quit. So we ran the first pilot of seo-code in 2018, the online version, and we extended. So in 2018 was just in Ghana to try it out, and after that we extended it to Africa, people beyond Ghana, and then in 2020, which was during COVID, also opened it up more, and then we initially was in English, but we then added French. To reach people across Francophone Africa. So what are the stats like during that period? So we reached about 2K students across 42 of the 54 African countries, and people also across countries beyond Africa. And this is how the progression was over the years. So as you can see, there was an exponential growth in terms of people enrolling in the course. We had a completion rate of 62%, which is well above the industry average. And the experience, the feedback was really good from students, like the students who was really excited about the experience, how we learned to code. So students that went through the program built proficiency in coding, and we assess students' proficiency. And also the smartphone, so we asked students what's the experience learning to code on the smartphone, and they mentioned that it was really good. So one of the questions I get is, how's the experience like? And as you can see from the results here, it was quite good. But we had some challenges along the line which we had to address. The key one that I would highlight is that so it was difficult providing support to students. So imagine having 2,000 students on a platform asking a lot of questions. So to address that, I'll just skip to that bit in the interest of time. We built Kwame, an AI assistant to provide answers to students' questions. So basically it takes students' questions and finds the part of the lesson notes that is most relevant, and then provides an answer to the students. And so I built this in 2020, way before ChatGPT. So price answers in English and French. And so this was the initial version. So a student asks a question, how do I draw a circle? And then it returns the relevant part of the lesson notes. That wasn't the generative part that, like a chatbot like we have with ChatGPT now. So we then integrated that, and also all the lessons that we had learned from the previous cohorts to build our own platform, because it was really difficult to run the program using different platforms. So we created seo-tools, which is now an app on the Play Store. Right now, so how it works is that we have monthly cohorts, students can enroll in the cohorts for the month, access the lesson notes which they can read, read offline, like I said, and then there's a forum where they can post questions and get answers from our AI in there now. There's a bit about to encourage them to help other students, and then there's a certificate when they complete. So since we launched the app in 2022 in January, and as of now, we have about 5K learners on the app across 45 African countries, and it's been growing. Along the line, we got a partnership a little over a year ago with Deloitte, Switzerland, to offer scholarships to students. So we have offering 1,000 scholarships to students to learn coding on seo-tools. We still have over 600 scholarships available. So if you know someone who wants to learn to code, you can let them know so that they can enroll on seo-tools. And students actually get career mentoring sessions with Deloitte professionals all over the world. So this is something that is ongoing. The February cohort will be starting next month. So if you know people, you can let them know. And we also have a partnership now with an organization to introduce coding skills to junior high school students across Ghana. How's the impact been? My past students have gone on to learn to study coding, computer science in top universities across the world, work at places like Google, Microsoft. And for me, the biggest impact, so students that I taught that learned to code for the very first time in seo-tools went on to build skills, and then I hired them to work at Kwame AI. So going from never written a line of code to now working at Kwame AI. And for me, that's like the biggest impact, seeing people transition from not knowing how to code to now contributing to important products at Kwame AI. All right, so that's a bit about seo-tools, and the hope and long-term goal is to enable students across young people, millions of people across Africa to build this important skill so that eventually they can have better prospects for the future in terms of employment. So that's what I was saying. I'll talk quickly about a course that I ran I teach at ETH, AI for Impact. So I was like, I want people to learn machine learning, not just for machine learning sake, but to create impact in the world. And so I created this course from scratch at ETH. It's a master's level course where students are introduced to the fundamentals of machine learning, and so machine learning starting from classical machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, large language models, and then they work in teams on a project to address a real world problem. So I taught this course for the first time 2 years ago at ETH. So they're like assignments that they work on, similar to seo-tools, corresponding to the lessons that I teach. And then they work on a project, and then they work on a project and then present paper at the end, so they write a paper as part of the process. So I taught this 2 years ago. I had 14 students. Actually, my course was quite oversubscribed. I wanted only 15, and there were I think about 50 students that wanted to be in the course, but it was the first time, so I had to cap it. And my students, there were 3 projects that we worked on. One team worked on predictions to address biodiversity prediction. Another worked on a tool for science education, and another for coding education, which was really cool. And for me, my long-term goal for creating this course beyond teaching at ETH is to put it online, put it as part of Singapore, so that again, students across Africa can also learn like machine learning skills. Also, not just for the sake of machine learning, but to actually create projects that actually make an impact in the world. And so that's kind of my long-term goal with AI for impact. So this is my last slide. So as of now, it's not part of Singapore, that's a long-term goal, but all my course material is available online if anyone wants to learn, so you can scan it. I really, in the course, I make sure it's really hands-on. I think my course is interesting, but ask my students. So just check it out and see, and you can also do it that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jojo. I think there is only one way to find out if the course is interesting. So this is an invitation to everyone to discover Jojo's class. Please feel free to ask him any question, either right now or at the break. We have a first question from Alex.
Perfect. Jojo, so I saw that you said you got a 4.7 rating on the Play Store. So is this available for anyone to download, anyone to try?
Yes, it's available for anyone to enroll. And since we're having the scholarship with Deloitte, also for students that actually complete, they get to have career mentoring with professionals at Deloitte.
Thank you so much for all those brilliant presentations that you've prepared for us. My name is just simple. I just want to understand what were the challenges that you faced and how did you deal with those challenges? Maybe like if you can put out top 3. And another thing is I'm interested in your why. Why do you think this is important for you as a person? Because I know social impact is really something that we need to do with our innovations and interactions with people. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I have this slide, but I have to skip it. So when we reached Run Singapore, there's a lot of manual efforts, so especially beyond the COVID, we had about 2,000 learners outside, working with a bunch of facilitators to coordinate things on different platforms. So it was really burdensome to do that. And then the challenge of providing answers to students and questions. And a lot of questions students would ask, and it was really burdensome. I actually had two students, 2 facilitators on 1-hour shift for 12 hours for 8 weeks to provide support to students, which was really a lot. So that's also the challenge where we built an AI teaching assistant for that. And we also had cases of plagiarism, where students would submit the code of other students, and so we actually built a code plagiarism detection tool to flag that. And then grading students' assignments too. So also built a tool to provide to grade students' assignments. But so that's like from the course point of view, but from a running this point of view, we wanted to make it sustainable by charging students, but we realized that it was difficult to monetize that. So that's from the business point of view, and that's why we explored partnerships with organizations to offer it for free. Somebody pays, but we still offer it for free, and I'm concerned about how to keep it up. So those are some of the challenges. On the why, okay, so Ghana's educational system, at least, I guess when I grew up in Ghana, it was very hands-on, it was very theoretical. I wasn't that much a fan of it. So I had to get with friends who work on science projects in high school to, exhibit, teach other students to do that, and became an important part of our experience. And after high school, we decided to create programs to give that opportunity to other students. And so for me, I've always been passionate about teaching and empowering other people to to make an impact in the world. And for me, that's why I do the work that I do.
Thank you very much, Jojo. I had a question, but it was almost to the same words, the same as your question. I want to ask about, the disparities in people having access, and in Africa having significantly less access to digital, not technologies, but as simple as having a phone. But I think you answered that already. So if there is no other questions from the room, we can please join.
So also maybe just to add, so after high school, I got the opportunity to study in the US, and being in the US, I kind of had, I went to school with US smart, but being in the US, you realize that it's not that people are smarter, and it's just about access to opportunities, right? We grew up in a context where people didn't have access to opportunities like other people in other parts of the world. So it's also about making it possible for people to have access to those opportunities and also got experience while studying in the US. So that's also the other component of it.
You're also surrounded by people who have the same access, so it makes a community. You have 1 minute for another question?
Yes, I'd like to ask, since the code is basically prioritizing high school students to get exposure for coding, what is the main purpose of this code? Can it code like robotics, or is it largely for gaming use, or is it related to machine learning? Also, in completion of this coding or curriculum or course, are there certifications that can help students, let's say, as I saw, there were students from MIT and Google that acquired jobs because they obviously were participating probably in this course and multiple others that help them acquire the certification and skill sets for their jobs. So is there also certification within the course code completion?
Okay.
Can you have a quick response?
Yeah. So just to clarify, so Stanford is on this high school, university. Actually, one of the courses we had a mom who took part in the course, and she shared how she built this game and her child was playing and it was like this family songs. People of all ages, about the certification there. So Stanford, the focus is on introductory coding, so we don't really teach you advanced skills. It's just to get you started. We provide a certificate, but that alone wouldn't be enough to get a job. Just want to give you the starting point so that now you have the fundamentals, you can pick other skills. And so that's why I also think of adding machine learning so that we can add more courses. But for now, you have to go learn other things before you can, get these jobs.
Thank you, Jojo. Please, round of applause for Jojo. You can also find Jojo he will be sitting at some points at the startup booths, and you can ask him questions about Esquire. So, I would like to introduce someone that I met here in South Africa. I'm very happy that I arrived to South Africa on the 31st of December, and I got to meet a bunch of interesting people. And one of them is Mr. Edzai Zvobwo from Zim, who will be talking about his recent book. So Edzai wrote 7 books. One of them sold to more than 20,000 copies. And he will be talking about his new book, Mathematics of Disruption. Please, a round of applause for Edzai.
Thank you. 1, 2, testing. Yeah, it works. Nice. So, morning everyone. It's an honor to be here today, and I hope that whatever I'm going to share with you is going to be of value and is going to poke you. So, my objective today is to poke you, right? The idea is we want to think differently. We want to
move away from being the product to being part of the solution, right? To being the custodians of the rails of the technological economics. So basically, my name is Edzai Zvobwo, and like Khalil said, born and bred in Zimbabwe, but I'm based here in Johannesburg, and I'm the founder of a company called Acalytica. So now, the essence of what I'm going to be talking about is about using mathematics for disruption. But the idea is that I'm using mathematics as a vehicle to communicate because I studied mathematics. So instead of mathematics, replace it with whatever it is that you know. So if you're a dancer, say dancing for what? For disruption. So I use mathematics to communicate. But I've realized that because mathematics has been presented to us in a very abstract, very unreal life-like, literally, if that word exists, right? So we've been presented with this subject as this dogmatic subject where if you break the rules, you're done for. There is no room for creativity. There is no room for imagination. You have to follow the rules. 1 + 1 is 2, right? So I'm here to say you can be as creative as possible. And mathematics is at the center of AI. Mathematics is at the center of machine learning. And it's due to the creativity of a lot of people that have come before us that we find ourselves where we are. It's because some people somewhere made a choice and we find ourselves here. If different choices had been made, maybe the type of AI that would be leading right now would have been different, right? So you find that for LLMs to be where they are, it's because Sam Altman saw that paper in 2017 by Google that was entitled "Attention is All You Need," right? And because he was coming from a VC perspective, he managed to raise lots of funds and he managed to build product, right? And we find ourselves here because VCs and entrepreneurs coming from a VC world managed to conquer AI. Why? Because there are so many types of AI, right? And the one that took center stage is LLMs because all the money was poured towards LLMs. You have voices of reason like Judea Pearl, who wrote the Book of Why. You should read that book, the Book of Why. Judea Pearl talks about causality, causal AI, saying that if you understand the underlying structure of data, of how data is generated, you can actually use less power. You can use less compute. You don't need as much data, right? But that school of thought was overcome because it was difficult to do. To prove causality is difficult, but it gives AI understanding. So it means that we chose the path of least resistance, the path that was fundable. And you find that technologically from way back, we've always adopted technologies that are easy to implement, that are easy to scale, the school of thought that is dominant is the one that takes over. As an example, if you look at the fight between Tesla and Thomas Edison had VCs behind him, right? If Tesla hadn't fought, right now we'd still be using DC and there wouldn't be any AC, right? Alternate current. So those fights have always been there at any given stage. So it's important for us to realize that whatever technology is current, it doesn't mean that it's there because it was inevitable. It's there because there was a choice made. So the question is, as Africans, can we make a choice to create technologies that serve us, to create technologies that are optimal for our pockets, that are optimal for our environment, that are optimal for our culture, our aspirations, our everything. Because right now, just like the previous technological revolutions, we are the product or we are mere consumers. So how can we change that? Then I said, no. Mathematics is universal. The mathematics they are using at OpenAI is the same mathematics I learned in Zimbabwe, is the same mathematics that is being taught in Johannesburg. So how can we use this universal language and other universal tools to be able to create things that serve us? Okay, so that is the essence of my talk. Right. So what if Africa's competitive advantage in AI isn't infrastructure catch-up? I left the only, right? Because definitely we need to catch up on infrastructure. So what if Africa's competitive advantage in AI isn't infrastructure only, but maybe mathematical sovereignty? Maybe we need to disrupt mathematics in itself and come up with our own mathematics that serves us. Right? It's not written in stone. I thought when I was taught mathematics, I thought mathematical rules were like this and I couldn't change them. But I've realized that they can be changed. Did you know that? They can be changed. So I'll show you how. But in this book, The Mathematics of Disruption, I have 4 characters. I wrote this book in such a way that anyone can read it. It's a story. You don't need to be mathematical to read this book. So there's Tandy who is asking questions. Questioning, that's a very important tool that we need. I know in our cultures, like in my culture in Zim Shona, you can't tell an elder that they are lying. You can't question what elders say, right? So it means that we take those cultural norms and bring them into the corporate world, bring them into academia, but it constricts and limits our growth because we're not asking fundamental questions. If the ancestors said 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 3, and you know better, then why should you still continue saying 1 plus 1 is equal to 3? Question it. So that's the role of Tandy in the book, questioning. Then we've got Sipho. Sipho, who studied at UCT, not here. Right. And he's in corporate. And he's deploying machine learning models. He's working, but now he has been so disheartened that he is very pragmatic and doesn't want to risk it, doesn't want to think away from the norm, just like our corporates in South Africa. Do you know that in corporate South Africa, R&D is a swear word? Did you know that? R&D is a swear word. They don't want to hear about it. They'll tell you straight up, dude, I am measured on a quarterly basis. I will get something that is already done and I will run with it. Therefore, I would rather be a reseller or distributor of a product from Germany or from the US. Turbo's algorithm, whatever, it's unproven. And which turbo anyway? Right? So unfortunately, that is the dominant thinking in our corporate boardrooms. They don't have time for us. So how can we circumvent that? That is something we need to think about as us like this. Then there's Professor Kumalo. Professor Kumalo is the mentor who is just helping Sipho and Tandy understand the landscape of mathematics for machine learning and AI, right? He's just answering the questions because don't forget, Tandy is asking lots of questions, right? Then we have the machine. The machine is also clarifying to say, okay, you know what? Sometimes you prompt me 10 times with the same prompt, but I give you 10 different answers. In my world, I am consistent. In your world, I'm not consistent. to the Christians, you know, there's this, I don't know what the verse says exactly, but it says something like, your time is not my time. I think that was the Lord speaking, right? So same thing, the machine's consistency is not our consistency. Why? Because of the underlying logic that is governing the machine, right? So in the book, like I told you, we'll be walking from one stream to the other, and we'll be listening to Tandy, C4, and Professor talking about AI. She'll be asking questions. Professor will be responding, and obviously C4, being the skeptic, will be throwing some sand into the conversation like that, right? So we cover things like floating point fragility, right? Floating point fragility. Who knows that computer scientists, for expedience purposes, broke what are known as the axioms of mathematics. Who knows about the axioms of mathematics? Anyone? Axioms of arithmetic, where, for example, you know that 1 plus 1, right, in brackets, plus 1 outside the brackets will give you what? 3, right? And then if you move the brackets such that the first one is outside and the other 2 are inside, you still get what? 3. But then the computer scientists said, no, this is messing us up. They changed it. So they broke the fundamental rules of mathematics for experience to make sure that algorithms are efficient, right? So that means that if you have the confidence, you can actually break mathematics as long as 2 minutes left. Yo! Oh! Okay, right. Okay, so basically this is what I was talking about, right? So, so we're saying that we have to have the confidence to break mathematics, because mathematics, just like any other subject, right, is not written in stone. So the poke that I'm poking you today is that be courageous. Be courageous to innovate. Be courageous to actually face the norm and question it. Okay. So you find, by the way, this presentation is available. If you just Google mathematics of disruption, you'll see a page on Acalytica. You'll be able to download this presentation. It's already there. So, right, I'm having to run. Right. So you find that in 1985, computer scientists actually changed the mathematics like we saw there. And then in 2017, like I told you, attention is all you need. People came up with the transformer model, right? And OpenAI was the first to adopt it and bring it to market. But these were choices that were made, and we can also make choices depending on what? On what we have. Okay. Then, so there are many innovations that I talk about. For example, the most dominant optimization algorithm is gradient descent in machine learning, where gradient descent is almost like you're blindfolded and then you're moving every step. It's like a stepwise optimization process. But now it's expensive when it comes to compute. So why can't we create another system where instead of one step, let's take double steps, let's jump, an African one, right? Like the Maasais in Kenya, they can jump as high as possible, right? So why can't we do that? Right. And then obviously, correlation versus causality. Our LLMs don't understand anything. They are probability and statistical machines, so they don't understand the data generating process. So that means that they cannot understand what they're doing. So please don't delegate thinking to LLMs. Until they know that A causes B, they are down, right? But they are good at what? Pattern matching, right? At scale. Okay, so I will skip a lot of things, and yeah, the last thing is, where is the Ubuntu in that AI? How do we infuse our culture within that AI? Okay, I don't have time. So thank you very much. I'm used to 1 hour, 3 hours, sorry.
And I would definitely listen to you for 3 hours, but unfortunately,
Thank you. Thank you.
I see a lot of questions, so also guys, you can find the presentation online at Acalytica.
Just Google mathematics for destruction, with Acalytica, you will find it there. Yeah.
So we have the first question.
Oh, actually, I just wanted to ask where the presentation is.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
We have the second question.
Okay, so I wanted to talk on the choice thing. I hope I can be as brief as possible because it sounds nice theoretically until you actually do try to disrupt. I am doing a master's in mathematical ontology, trying to use math to predict the decisions that people make to survive their worst political situations. So if we could think of it as game theory, nobody wants to supervise that. The game theorists are saying it's too political. The politics people are saying, but why math? And your presentation answers that because we can then do sort of like causational relationships. There's a lot to do with math. So how do you break through into getting people to not see you as crazy, but as someone who's actually doing something that's worthwhile?
We have so many risk-averse lecturers and teachers. So I've learned to search for where my tribe is, whether they're in the US, Russia, or wherever. Like right now, the Turing Award winner, Julia Pell, that I'm talking about, we correspond about causality. Like I've realized that there are not enough people that are talking about what I'm talking about, that he talks about. So don't limit yourself to local supervisors.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, great presentation. And I'm actually glad that you point out that when you talk about AI, you talk about mathematics and algorithms. And you did talk about the infrastructure gap on the African continent and how can we create the AI that works for Africa. And so I think that brings a key, how I see, continental or country level initiative or vision in terms of how the various stakeholders will work together on finding specific solutions to African challenges. We talk about LLMs, but we're also talking about how we use AI at the edge, for example, small language models, etc.
Yes.
How are you engaging with various stakeholders? Let's say government, let's say universities, let's say the private sector, whereby there is this R&D that needs to take place to strategically enable those who work in that sector to provide solutions.
Yes, thank you very much. So on my side, I sit on the expert panel for emerging technologies for African Union, out and EPA to be specific. And we've written a couple of papers that were advising the 54 states in Africa around how to adopt AI, 3D printing, 5G, and all that. So we are trying. And also, there's a new commissioner at the AU who is in charge of infrastructure, and she's very much looking at AI infrastructure as well. But it is our duty, all of us, to spread the gospel because, our governments need a bit of knocking on the head for them to actually understand what's happening.
We have the last one here.
Hi. So actually, it was not a question, it was more of me to say that pretty much like your presentation, probably the best one that I've enjoyed so far. And it makes sense because you say something that resonates with me. I think we are in a lot of like applications today. Like we want to take maybe a model that was developed somewhere and then apply it and make applications. But like the lady was saying, we need to be crazy enough to think about fundamental research. Like you talked about gradient descent, you talked about many optimization techniques. We need to think outside of the box and like look at things that can be more relevant to our, I would say, our context. So I don't know, maybe you have enough voice and power to actually raise that awareness because I think and I believe of an Africa where we own our technologies. Like if Google, I was talking with someone yesterday, I was like, if Google decides like today I'm not running Google Translate anymore, we can't do anything, right? But we have the minds, we have everything that we need. We just need to be courageous enough and pursue research instead of imminent like research.
No, thank you very much. So I'll give you one practical example quickly of being courageous and being confident in what you're trying to do. So Elon Musk, he realized that there's a lot of energy being used in data centers, big data sets and stuff like that. You know what he simply did? And you can Google it. So for Tesla robots now, he has made a trade-off between accuracy and efficiency. So he has removed the cores. You remember that floating point system I was talking about? He has removed them. He's using integers, right? Integers, whole numbers only, like positive whole numbers only. And that means that he's using less energy. His robots are faster, but at the expense of what? Accuracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will go as more concrete and say not Google will stop supplying, but tariffs. So yeah, thank you very much. Edzai is also sitting right here outside if you want to buy the book. And we have a